It is a really good time to be a Masters of the Universe fan right now. There are more toy lines at market and more content coming than we've probably ever had. And here on the Spectre Creative channel, I've been doing a lot of videos about Origins lately, and mainly I've been focusing on distribution, logistics, how stores rotate product, whether they're bringing in new product or clearancing out old product. And I think that has given a bad perception, or at least created the perception, that I'm not a fan of this line, which I am. I'm a fan of any Masters of the Universe product at market, and especially a product that hinges right there on that nostalgic nerve that all of us collectors have, from the first pack that they put out at Comic-Con to upcoming waves that they've announced. I think it's all awesome, and I continue to be very excited about this line. I think that it does have, if the sales are there, it has a very, very bright future. But as a retail line, as I've mentioned in a few videos, it does need to have kid support or gift giver support if it's going to survive at retail. But for the collectors, wow, is it an awesome line. And I do love that Mattel has really embraced the collecting community with things like fan choice contests, and they have exclusives available at conventions like San Diego and PowerCon. That's a great way to involve the fans. And it's fantastic to see things like the Grayskull add-on items for PowerCon, especially the robot suit, the suit of armor. As an articulated figure, I always wished we could do that in Classics. And hey, they're even doing Lieutenant Spectre. How could I be upset with this line when they've included Lieutenant Spectre in the line? Okay, maybe it's not actually supposed to be Lieutenant Spectre, but on my shelf, it's going to be Lieutenant Spectre. So, hey, what are you going to do about it? He's my favorite Royal Guard. Well, he's just a handsome devil. All right, so I may not have a huge collection of Origins myself, because I honestly feel like I already have a definitive MOTU toy collection in Classics. But there are a lot of figures, characters I really, really love, and I am cherry-picking the line. I know I was kind of against cherry-pickers with Classics, but that's because we needed fan support to keep it going. This needs retail support and kid support, so I'm a cherry-picker. What can I say? And this is a wish list video I put together, and I'm going to rate the figures on my wish list on the likelihood of them being produced from a standpoint of production and fan interest and, I guess, ability to sell. Really looking at tooling costs, shared parts, repaint options, how well they fit into the line, and from a marketing standpoint. So with all of those factors, I'm going to kind of give them a rating of 1 through 5. 1 being, probably not going to see it, to 5 is, wow, yeah, this is probably a figure we're going to get sooner than later. So my personal wish list with my professional background taken into account. All right, well, no shocker that number 1 on my list is going to be Mighty Spectre. Let's just get him out of the way and move on to the other figures. But obviously, a character that I created in the line is going to be somebody I want to see in every He-Man line. I know he had a very limited role on the Princess of Power series as She-Ra's love interest in 3 of the episodes, and he did pop up in a lot of the mini-comics for Classics, as well as in the Masterverse comic book that Tim Seeley wrote. So, he's definitely legitimate in the brand, and he has lived on beyond me. Come on, he would look so cool as a vintage figure. And legitimately, from a production standpoint, he's very little tooling. There aren't really that many new parts that he needs. We've already gotten Lieutenant Spectre, right? So why not do his, superhero time-traveling counterpart? All we would need are the parts in gray and black, which is, a new arm, a new wrist, a new blaster, holster, and harness and head. That's it. So this is the tooling model of Mighty Spectre, that the parts in gray and black show the new parts that were needed for educational purposes, for those wondering what a tooling model is. All right, so I would love to say he's a number 5 because of the tooling minimal needs, but taking into marketing and fan support, I'm going to drop him down to 0. There's probably no chance of getting Mighty Spectre in Classics, but I had to try, so you knew I had to throw him in there. So I figured I'd make him the first on my wish list to get him out of the way.
Move along.
All right, so next up on my personal wish list of figures to do in MOTU Origin is everyone's second favorite B-Warrior from the 1980s. And yes, you heard me, second favorite, and that's because Buzz-Off does not bring anyone yummy, delicious, honey-coated breakfast cereal. If he did, I'd boost him up to number 1. but he doesn't. So he gets to be second best B of the 1980s. But he's a really cool figure, and with his wingspan and his axe and his colors, his brown and yellow, with those bright bluish greenish eyes, he would pop. Now, with it being MOTU Origins, does this mean that we would get kind of the prototype version of him, where he has a human head with a insect helmet that covers up his face? I don't know. I mean, it could be a cool convention variant. I mean, they are doing that with like Merman and stuff. But the other nice thing from a tooling perspective with Buzz-Off is he would provide the parts for a lot of other figures. So the arms, the shoulders, the legs, the back, these are pieces that could be used for Clawful and Whiplash. I remember when we finally had these tools in Classics, it really opened the door to a lot of characters. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a 4 on the possibility list, because once we get that tooling, it opens up a lot of characters. All right, next up, Zodak, and that's Zodak with a K, the character from the 2000X Mike Young series. So he was by far my favorite character from the 2001, 2002, 2000X, whatever you want to call it, series. Now, he is different from Zodak with a C. From the 80s, Zodak with a C was a cosmic warrior who flew around in a chair creating neutrality. Zodak with a K was a mystic warrior who lived in the mountains, who had glowing tattoos and was an enemy of the Snake Men. And it made sense in Classics that we separated them into 2 different characters for this reason. They had different spellings of their name, different visual look, and different bios. But in Classics, it's an easy redeco. So Origins would be an easy redeco too. Plus, it's ethnic diversification, so I'm going to give him a 5. The chance of seeing him, super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Maybe just a new staff, that's all we need. So just take the existing Zodak with a C and give him a new paint job. All right, next up, someone who's not as easy to tool up or repaint is Mantenna, my favorite member of the Horde. I loved this figure as a kid. I don't think I realized until I was an adult that he actually had 4 legs. They were just fused together as 2 legs. Well, I guess I must have seen that on Filmation, but it never registered. But yeah, he's cool, and he shows up in a lot of content. He shows up in the Filmation series as one of She-Ra's enemies. He showed up in the 2001, 2000X series. And he shows up in a lot of toy lines because he's very toyetic with the bright colors and the popping eyes. Whether he gets pupils or not, he's very toyetic and he gets made a lot. And when we did him in Classics, it was obvious that he was a fully tooled figure. I mean, maybe we reused some biceps. I don't know. I can't think. I think he was pretty much 100% tool. Probably his arms. His hands were the only reuse. So he's a lot of tooling. And that's a big investment, especially because he's kind of a one-and-done character. You can't really reuse his tooling for anyone else other than like maybe a weird disco repaint or something. So because of the tooling bill, I'd have to drop him down to a chance of being in the line as a 1. There's just a lot of tooling involved, and the line would really have to take off to justify that. All right, someone who is a little easier to do is Spikor, everyone's favorite mask-wearing, armor-wearing, porcupine-inspired, whatever his origin, however you like to see him, he's a guy covered in medieval spikes. Now, when we did him in Classics, one of the reasons I pushed him out was, one, I wanted him to sort of be a flag out there for can we get to him, because he was a favorite, but also I thought he was a lot of tooling. I thought he was going to need a fully tooled chest and all these parts, but it turned out the Horsemen in their brilliance figured out a way to do it as snap-on armor. So even though the vintage figure had a fully tooled chest, perhaps he could be done like that in Origins and just have a snap-on chest armor instead of having a fully tooled chest. Now, of course, there are ways to make him even more complicated, and there's no lack of art on the internet of fans who have done very creative interpretations of him, like he might have looked in the 2001 series. But if you're going to do Classic and you're going to do the Origin version, well, hey, and plus maybe you could do a repaint and do him in his original concept colors, because again, Origins is sort of all about that, right? Going back to the original origins of the line. So hey, do a brown version and give him a tail and a different weapon. So for that, I'll give him a 4, because maybe you can get 2 different paint jobs out of him. Next up, we need some Snake Men. And if you're going to have some Snake Men, I feel like you do have to start with Cobra Khan, who was the first Snake Man in the line and had a big part in the series. Now, when he was introduced, he wasn't a Snake Man, he was just a Snake Man, but eventually he became a member of the Snake Men. So, I know, you got to have like your pamphlet in front of you to keep track of this stuff. He does have some newly tooled parts. He has a newly tooled chest and head, and we ran into some issues in Classics trying to figure out how to do him without tooling up too much, but we pulled him off, and he would be an investment because there is some significant tooling. He would need a new shorts, his underwear, his belt, whatever it is you call that, as well as the chest and head. But the gun is reused, the legs, and you could again get a second deco if you did the Camo Khan, which was done in South America and was released in Classics at PowerCon a few years back. So because of the double deco, you are getting at least a twofer out of him. So that's going to bump him up in my, I guess, category to a number 4. So, hey, let's get a Cobra Khan in the line, and we can do both decos, and, then you get the claws for Clawful, too, right? All right, see, we're building up our tooling database. Next up, Chief Carnivus. Maybe another shocker if you know me well. He is my absolute favorite original new character from the 2000X 2001 series, and I loved getting him into Classics because we never got him as a toy in the 2001 line, and he turned out relatively easy to do. While the design of 2000X has a lot more, armor bits and all sorts of stuff, classicizing him basically meant a lion head on the existing Beastman body. So we have the Beastman body already. It's been used for Beastman and Stratos and the chest for Zodak with a C. So he's a new head and new cape and some new armor. So yeah, bring on Chief Carnivus. It was so great to see him as a toy, and I think doing a character from the 2001 show in Origins would be a really neat statement to the fans. Because, he didn't exist back in the day. But now getting a toy to look like that, maybe it would look something like this, like these fan customs. How cool would that be? So I think it would be a really neat thing for the fans. So, hey, make it happen, Mattel. Chief Carnivus for Origins. Yay! All right, with that, I'm going to give him a solid, fantastic 4. Because, hey, very little tooling and a lot of fan excitement. Next up, you can't have Origins without He-Man Origins, so Viktor, who is based on the original concept art for He-Man, and a very, very popular figure with fans, and one of the best figures in Classics. I mean, honestly, he is amazing. And I get that people say he's a ripoff of Conan, but I think Conan's a ripoff of him, even though, it doesn't work from the time stance that way. But I'm just go with me on this one. So, yeah, cool barbarian, probably the best Conan figure ever made, honestly. And now that he's appearing in the new animation in the Revelation show, so, yeah, bring him on. He should definitely get a Origins figure, and very minimal new tooling needed. He's basically He-Man with a different pants, shorts, furry shorts, different shorts, new head, and new wrist braces. So, and because he's based on the concept art for He-Man, which is what Origins, again, is about, makes sense. Let's get Viktor in Masters of the Universe Origins. I will buy 2. You hear that, Mattel? You pre-sold 2 of them to me. So, yeah, make it happen. I'll give it a number 4 of likelihood, especially because he is a concept He-Man and he's appearing in the new show. So, Viktor should exist in Origins. All right, rounding out my top 10, Hero, the wizard warrior of Preternia from the stars. Hero, for those of you who don't know, was supposed to be the main character for the line extension in 1987 before it got canceled. But he did appear in the Mattel catalog, which has made him a bit of an urban legend figure for decades until we made him in Classics. That was that figure you just saw, was the Classics version. So it would be great to finally get a figure from Mattel of Hero. Now, Super 7 did do Hero in a vintage look, just with the vintage articulation, and I think this is a brilliant, brilliant product. They did such a great job, especially all the way down to recreating the new branding on the card. So, fantastic figure here, but yeah, hey, bring him into Origins, give him the added articulation, and that way you can get his staff and his sword, and, he's such a big part of the brand, he's even in the new show again, so he's legitimately going to be in the entertainment for the very first time, which is mind-blowing. So, yeah, Hero, Masters of the Universe Origins. It'd be great to get Preternia representation, and maybe that would open the door up to other things like Eldor and, all sorts of characters. The Snake Men are part of this, and hey, one day maybe we'll even get a Towers of Eternia playset. So, Hero, the original hero of Eternia, definitely deserves a place in Origins, and because he's not that much tooling and is in the new entertainment, I'm going to bump him up in my likelihood and give him a nice 3 as likely to happen. So, yeah, maybe not as recognizable to kids, but maybe the new entertainment will change that. We'll see. One can hope. We need a hero. Holding out for a hero. Action figure, that is. All right, number 1 is also sort of a twofer. It's the Rockmen, Stondar and Rock-On. But if I was going to go down to one of them, it would be Rock-On, because he's the younger, he's the cooler, he's the blue and orange one. I liked him better. What can I say? Very excited to have gotten to him in Classics. We did them together in a 2-pack. They are a bit of tooling. In the vintage line, they were 100% tool. They folded up into rocks, boulders, and stones. But we found very, very clever ways of doing it in Classics to minimize the amount of tooling we would need. And I think they could pull this off in Origins too, and not have to fully tool them. So we had things like snap-on armor, and we used the basic, arms, etc. So he would definitely still need his action feature of folding up into a boulder, but it would be really fun to see them pull this off. Might be tough with the tooling, I don't know. But he's one of my absolute favorite action figures of all time. And getting him in Origins, like a fully articulated version that looks like this, that would be pretty darn spiffy. I like Origins, I really do. I'm just cherry picking, and these are the figures I would cherry pick. I'll give him a number 2 likelihood, due to the tooling. So, what did I miss? Did I miss any characters that you really want to see in Origins? I know I didn't hit anything from New Adventures or Princess of Power, but hey, these are the characters I personally want, and the only one who can own my opinion is me and the Monsanto Corporation. So, let me know what you think. Leave them in the comments below. Share this video with others. Let's keep a discussion going in the comments, and hopefully Origins will go long enough to get to all these characters and more. Thanks for watching.